Hello everyone, I'm Fernando Mesquita and the title of this workshop is Providing Feedback with ESL Students in Mind. This presentation aims to promote a reflection and a discussion on the types of feedback that make a difference in our students' learning. We will first exchange ideas and thoughts on the how and the why of providing feedback. Then we will look at what research says about feedback, and finally, we will see some classroom applications. Before we look at the research, let's find out what questions you have about feedback. What would you like to know about providing feedback to ESL students? In groups of 3, choose 3 of the questions on the screen and prepare a poster with your thoughts on feedback. We will now present what research says about feedback. We looked at the work of 3 theorists, Hattie, O'Malley, and Marzano. In the history of the study of learning, the role of feedback has always been central. When people are trying to learn new skills, they must get some information that tells them whether or not they are doing the right thing. But not all feedback is equally effective, and it can even be counterproductive, especially if it is presented in a negative or judgmental way. Research says that we should be as specific as possible. Great job, and not quite there yet, are comments that don't help the students to find out what they did wrong and how to correct it next time. Timely feedback is crucial to the success of students in learning. The sooner, the better. In several studies, participants who were given timely feedback showed a more significantly larger increase in performance than those who had received delayed feedback. Effective feedback requires that a person has a goal, takes action to achieve the goal, and receives goal-related information about his or her actions. So, address the learner's advancement toward a goal. Help the students see how the feedback they received can help them to progress toward their final goal. Formative assessment, consisting of lots of feedback and opportunities to use that feedback, enhances performance and achievement. Adjusting our performance depends not only on receiving feedback, but also on having opportunities to use it. Effective feedback is concrete, specific, it is useful, it provides actionable information. Therefore, good job and you did that wrong are not feedback at all. But even if feedback is specific and accurate in the eyes of teachers and administrators, it is not of much value if the students don't understand it or are overwhelmed by it. Highly technical feedback is not effective. To illustrate this quick introduction to research on providing feedback to students, we would like you to watch and think about the main points described in the following video. There are lots of different ways of looking at feedback, but a very important way of looking at feedback is whether it's ego-involving or task-involving. So if you say to students that they did very well, that they did one of the best pieces of work in the class, that's ego involving. If you get feedback that says things like, well, this is what you need to do to improve, then that focuses on the task. And what the research shows very clearly is that ego involving feedback is rarely effective and in fact can lower achievement. According to David William, good feedback causes thinking. The really important thing is that when a student gets a piece of feedback, the first thing that they do is think, not react emotionally, not disengage, but think. That's very important because what the research on student motivation shows is that when they're faced with a task or a response to a piece of work, students basically make a choice between deciding either to protect their well-being or to engage in activities that will actually help them grow as individuals. David William also suggests that teachers need to give students feedback that helps them move forward, to give them feedback that makes it clear that ability is incremental rather than fixed. For more information, watch David Williams' video on feedback on learning. At this point, you must be asking what we do in our ESL classes in terms of getting and providing feedback to our students. In ESL, we need to check meaning and check comprehension all the time and get the feedback on students' understanding. Some of the strategies we use are 1-minute paper. After a quick reading, listening comprehension, or presentation of content, we ask the students to write a 1-minute paper on the topic given. For example, after reading about global warming, they can write what they know about it. They can also indicate the muddiest point, which is the point in the reading, listening, or presentation that was not clear and that they would like more clarification on. We oftentimes ask our students to demonstrate or summarize in one sentence what they've understood in our reading passages. In ESL, we don't tend to ask, "Do you understand?" Instead, we ask, "Can you show me what you've understood?" Other ways of eliciting information and finding out if students have understood our content are through the techniques 3-2-1. 3 things you found out, 2 interesting things, 1 question you still have. And also the think, write, pair, share technique. ESL students need some time before answering questions, orally or in writing. When you give them an opportunity to think, write, talk to someone, and then share, you're giving them more time to process information, to form ideas, and to look for structures and words to express those ideas. When we provide feedback in ESL, we speak to each student individually. We involve them in peer feedback, and we also provide feedback to the whole class as a group. When providing feedback on language accuracy, a lot of teachers choose the recast technique. Recasts involve the teacher's reformulation of all or part of a student's sentence minus the error. Example, a student says, "Why you don't like Chris?" Then the teacher corrects, "Why don't you like Chris?" Then the same student replies, "I don't know, I don't like him." In the content-based second language classrooms, students are less likely to notice recasts since they may assume that the teacher is responding to the content rather than to the form. Sometimes it might be more effective to use explicit correction, clarification requests, or metalinguistic feedback. Explicit correction refers to the explicit provision of the correct form. Clarification requests indicates to students either that what they said has been misunderstood by the teacher, or that what they said is not correct in some way, and that a repetition or a reformulation is required. When giving metalinguistic feedback, teachers pose questions or provide comments or information related to the mistake the student has made. In addition to teacher-led feedback such as one-on-one conferences, students are also encouraged to self-assess and to provide feedback to their peers. In this video, we talked about the importance of providing effective feedback for learning. We saw what research says about feedback, as well as some techniques to elicit information on students' comprehension and strategies to provide feedback on language accuracy. Thanks for watching and see you next time.